Hi. How's build? Thumbs up. Cool. Chat, hello. Everyone in the room can see what you chat. So do not say anything that's going to make everyone laugh because I'm going to think they're laughing at me. It's totally fine though. No worries. So yes, we will be taking questions from both the chat and the room. So chat them if you're in the chat. We will make sure that people in the room who ask questions use a microphone so you can hear them. This is a cool setup. Very awesome. We had a couple people who are new to MAUI. So welcome to the party. Oh, this is the wrong title. That's not the title of this. But it's the right deck. This is the .NET MAUI What's New Q&A. So MAUI is the way to write cross-platform mobile and desktop apps with .NET. You can target WinUI, Mac, iOS, and Android from a single project. It's very cool. Today is not a session where we are going to tell you what MAUI is and like what's coming in the future and like do a bunch of slides. Today is a Q&A. Tomorrow we do have that roadmap session. Dave mostly and then me for fun will be there. And then you can come there to learn kind of generally what we're up to, roadmap stuff. So this is the place for all of you folks to ask questions that we don't usually cover in presentations, especially ones like tomorrow that are more on the intro level side. If you are new to MAUI, some of these questions might not make sense to you, and that's totally okay. They probably don't make sense to me either, and that's fine. We will have a good time. Any questions you have, we are going to be hanging out at the .NET Expert Meetup area for most of the rest of the conference, so please come ask, and you can meet some other cool .NET people. And get some stickers. Oh, yes, and I brought them, so I'll put them out when we're done. I'll put them on that cool table. Yeah, and we also love hearing about what you're building. So if you want to come and be like, this is the app that I build, or like, hey, I work at so-and-so place, and just so you know, like, this app's built with MAUI, or like, hey, I'm running a MAUI app, and I don't like you guys. That's okay. We want to hear all of these things. Just please be nice, or Beth will escort you out. So yeah, definitely let us know. We're going to be around. That's why we're here, to talk to all of you. So without further ado, we are going to get started introducing ourselves. I'm Maddy. I am a PM on the MAUI team. I work on tooling and productivity and question mark. Chris, our manager, is not here. He is holding down the actual company, the whole company, while we are having fun at a good time at Build. So he is Mr. Manager, but
dual wielding. Hi, I'm Becky. I am a PM on the .NET MAUI team as of August last year, when I learned what a .NET MAUI was. So I'm very new, very excited, and I work on packaging and distribution. And before I joined here, I was a math teacher for 10 years. So yeah, you can ask me lots of questions about either MAUI or math education.
And she's very accustomed to dealing with middle schoolers, so I think it's a really good fit for this group. Because if you're like me, you just act like a 15-year-old all the time. Right, this is the way, thank you. I am David Ortinau, Product Manager on .NET MAUI. I've been with Microsoft for 6 years now, which doesn't seem that long. And it's a lot has happened in those 6 years. So I remember when I first joined, everybody hated Xamarin Forms, and then we incrementally were able to make it better and better and better, to the point where now people are like, hey, it's stable. Why did you change it? Whoops. But before that, I don't know. Well, I throw out different numbers all the time, like 20 years. I used to own my own business, and I worked in enterprise, I worked in startups, I worked for everything in between, big companies, little companies, doing mobile apps, web apps, environmental apps. Anybody know what an environmental app is? You ever been to a museum? You touched something and it did something? Yeah, that's an environmental app. And what else do I want to talk about?
pass the mic.
No, hang on. I have the mic. This is my only chance to talk about me. Anyway, it is very great to see everybody in person again. It has been a while. Being able to do in-person conversations is so helpful. Thank you for joining us on Teams when we do have calls with you to interview you. But yeah, definitely come by. Tell us about your apps, the good stuff, the bad stuff. We really do want to know. Can't probably fix your problems on the spot, but taking that feedback to the team really does help us make sure that we're shipping what you need.
Hi, I'm Beth. Microsoft veteran here, 16 years. Previously the director of marketing for the .NET platform. So you can blame me for the name .NET MAUI.
You can.
I joined the team a little bit before Becky, very new to product management. So, but yeah, I've definitely been around the .NET ecosystem a very long time. I was previously a community manager with Scott Hanselman, but I was on the VB side. He was the ASP.NET side. So I basically joined the same year that Scott did. And yeah, it's been a wild ride ever since. I actually started in Fox Pro. I was on the Fox Pro 8 team. Yep.
If Beth says Fox Pro.
So I always say Fox Pro when I'm in an interview or online or any recording whatsoever. It's just something I have done for my entire career because I started in Fox Pro. So go Fox Pro.
Yeah, if there's anyone who's going to talk to you about Fox Pro at this conference, it is the one and only Beth Massi. So.
And in .NET Foundation stuff, did you mention?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I was previously on the board of directors of the .NET Foundation, and then I was the marketing committee chair, and now I just kind of volunteer. By the way, elections are happening. I can give a plug on that. Yeah, elections are happening soon, so they're doing nominations. If anybody's interested in running for the board, please go to the .NET Foundation and submit your nomination, or if you will nominate someone else. It's a really cool experience, and if you really have passion about the .NET ecosystem and really want to make an impact, I highly encourage you to do so.
Very cool. All right, without further ado, I'll put it down. Thanks. You're too nice, Becky. Stop trying to be helpful. Just spill it on me. Okay, so let's do room questions. A couple room questions first, and I'll scroll through the chat while you amazing people answer them. Who wants to start? Who wants to kick us off today? Oh, yeah, Morton wants to kick us off. And I can go stick my face in the camera, too. Hold on. Hi. Would you like to stick your face in the camera?
Sure. Hi. One thing I feel like been missing a lot for Xamarin as well as in MAUI is a good way to automate your testing across all the platform support. Are there any thoughts about how you're going to do automated testing for all the platforms?
So automated testing. Of course, you can automate your UI, your unit tests and all the other non-UI tests just the same way you do all the rest of .NET. We do a ton of testing like that on device. The UI test is where we've had a bigger gap between MAUI and Xamarin. So recently, UI test has shipped compatible packages for Net 6 and greater for iOS and Android. So while that is now available and I think very helpful for Xamarin developers making this transition to MAUI, it's probably not a good long-term strategy until we see a roadmap as to where App Center is going to go with their maintenance and their future investments with that. So that'll get you there today. Like we ourselves, now that we have these packages, just brought all our Xamarin Forms UI tests and ran them. And I think we have about, quick math, 6/7 of our tests passed. That's a great number, isn't it? 6/7.
6/7.
Yeah. So, and then as it comes with tests, it's like, well, why did it fail? Is it a real failure? Is it a false positive? What's going on? Longer term, we do have some other automation and UI testing strategies that we're looking at. If you look across the rest of Microsoft and what products are now available that weren't before, we're talking to those teams about how those could be leveraged and used to be, first-party supported for MAUI. The team is also internally doing some work on automation for UI testing using their own stuff, and whether or not that ends up getting productized or not and being shared with customers is yet to be determined. But it is something that is being discussed and thought about as they do that. Our number one priority is to get our stuff covered in tests, right? And then if it makes sense, I mean, it obviously makes sense that you want to be able to test your stuff and that you need a solution. Whether or not what we come up with for testing the internal core framework and what you need for testing your apps is the same thing, we'll figure that out. And also, do we have the capacity ourselves on our teams to maintain that and ship it for years and years and years? Those are things that we have to consider. So I think, long story short, we know that there are gaps there, and we are working actively to to provide solutions, whether that's a third-party solution, another team within Microsoft, or if it's something that we do ourselves. We do have a work item on .NET 8 for this specifically, and so you can watch that. That work item is not promising delivery of a product to you for this, but that we are actively working on it in .NET 8, and we hope to have a better story for you later.
Cool. Good news is there's 300 people in the meeting right now, which is exciting. So hi, everybody. And a bunch of them are actually people from our team. So that's cool. Hi, team. If you folks online want to answer questions online, feel free. I will catch the ones that aren't being answered. I will also rank these by how many emojis they have reacting to them. So if you see a question you want to get asked, emoji it. Okay? All right, cool. Let's do another room question. What's up? Who wants to go next? Oh, nice. Okay.
Hi, my name is Andrew. So David, earlier today, you gave a talk about the hybrid web view, potentially hosting, a React component within .NET MAUI and having it run in both places. So kind of two questions about this. One, kind of what kind of timeline are we looking for to kind of bring that out and where it could be used in a production setting? And as well as what is the story for, let's say I have a React component that I want to host on a statically compiled website and as well as within a .NET MAUI app, where maybe I kind of want to publish this into a package and then potentially pull like an NPM package into the MAUI app to host the app. So what is kind of the expected story there for hosting those kind of components?
Yeah, great question. And so I didn't actually get to dive into, let me go back to where the camera is. I didn't actually get to dive into a lot of React code because I ran out of time. However, I did tweet out the resources with the repository that has the full React example in it, and the pre-recorded video where I do actually cover more of that because I didn't have any jokes to tell. So definitely check those out as far as like, how would that look? But I think where we are right now, it is experimental. And so we are kind of also wanting to learn from React developers. How would this make the most sense for you to use this? Because we're .NET developers primarily, and there's a rather large contingency of I don't ever want to touch JavaScript. And so we're not really solely best suited to make that design decision. So we need your feedback. And so go to the GitHub, provide feedback on GitHub, engage in a discussion with us. You want to have a call and say, hey, I've been playing around with this. I don't like how this works. This is a lot of work. What if we did this? That's what we're really looking forward to hearing, and that's why we're shipping this as an experiment and promoting it here today. I thought somebody smacked their lips like they were going to talk.
No, I said yeah.
Oh, you did?
I was going to say, does Beth want to talk at all about MAUI Labs or anything?
Yeah, I was going to hand it to her.
Okay, I was waiting.
Jeez.
I was waiting.
So as far as timing, yeah, I don't have any timing right now, but I mean, we could ship this thing separately. It doesn't have to be in the box. It could be a official NuGet package that's just an additional thing. But if it is actually very useful for folks, we would want to probably put it in the box, just like the Blazor WebView. And we know a lot of customers have built their own hybrid WebView components. So yeah, Beth.
You basically said everything I wanted to say. Yeah, I'm actively watching it. I'm working with Elon, so definitely if you are, especially if you're experienced React or Angular developer, we want to know where the rough edges are, because like Dave said, that's not where even Elon's expertise is. Yeah, we're just kind of trying to get feedback there. Then we are looking at creating an official, more official, like laboratory. Like there's a runtime labs right now on .NET, GitHub. Organization, and so we're looking at a MAUI Labs, and we would probably put it in there, and then would have a more official naming on the NuGet package, but it would be the same exact code. So check that out. I'm watching too, and we'd love to productize this because it's not much code.
Cool. All right. I don't see any heavily emojied questions on chat, but I do see one about content that has plenty of thumbs up, so that's cool. The question is from Florian. Hi, Florian. And it is, most MAUI video content is basic, like an hour-long talk that has 45 minutes of .NET and Xamarin history and ends in the project new Visual Studio experience. Are there any plans to show more real-world stuff? That's a good question. I can start with this one. Yes. Yes. No, I mean, we've been kind of focusing on introductory content because, Maui's new to everybody right now. I do think more real world examples are something that we've actively been working on. Actually, Becky, do you want to talk about the app building we did?
Oh yes, yeah, the app building. Oh yeah, that thing that happened a month ago. It's May, 2 months ago. In March, we had a really exciting 2 weeks, where we kind of paused on our hundreds of meetings that we had and our regular work that we did, and everyone kind of just took the time to build an app from the ground up, and it was really exciting to struggle with the things that you guys struggle with, really dog food it. And a lot of cool things came out of that. The apps themselves, very cool. Beth made her time until app, but you started that a while ago, so I don't know if that really counts. You started an app? Okay, all right. You made an app that it didn't get shown because it was the last in the slideshow, but but it was really good. Yeah, it was really good to create the apps themselves, but also to really float to the top the things that you struggle with as you're building apps from the ground up.
Now we got some good demos.
And now we got great demos. We have like a bunch of the engineers posted their projects to GitHub so that you can see them. Some of them are very, very cool.
Yeah.
The grocery one, the recipe one, very cool. But yeah, so we can add content to go along with that for sure.
So for sure, Florian and anybody else, let us know the content that you would like us to provide. But I highly encourage you to, consider blogging and doing videos and things like that. You don't have to become Gerald, and like build a whole brand out of it or anything like that. But the reality is that you are spending more time with the product, deep in it, and dealing with architectural issues than necessarily we are, right? So A, give us that feedback and let us know what we can do to improve that. But B, we want to learn from you. So I think you're actually in a much better position to write some content, build a demo, something like that. And I know the reaction is probably, well, I want to play with my kids. I want to go out and. So totally, no.
If it's something you're interested in doing, there's space for you to do that.
But we will certainly create content as we're able. We also do have content creation teams that we can task with some of these things. But sometimes when we do that, like the thing we get back from them, I'm not sure really matches what you're doing in the field sometimes. So yeah. Collaborate with us on it and we'll figure out how we can get it. So one of the things with the app building that was really interesting is I was working with an engineer and she was like, how do I get the data from here to here? And it's all these MVVM questions, data binding related things and everything. And it was just so interesting to be reminded of the first time you explore some of these things, just how foreign they are. And you're just like, I can't figure this out. But then they got to step into the Blazor hybrid stuff, and they're like, oh, this makes sense. I actually do all this stuff.
Yeah, it's cool. We have a lot of young talent engineering on the team right now. So a lot of them were not familiar with .NET and have come in over the past couple of years and are learning all these things. And so it's been fun to have that. Cool. All right, back to the room. Yeah. Actually, let's go back to you, Dan, because you get to talk to us all the time. Hello, please introduce yourself. Ask us your question.
Yeah, my name is Brent. So I have a client that is on old school Xamarin, like doing storyboards and stuff, and they have asked us what an upgrade path would look like to go to MAUI. Sure. And obviously that is not necessarily an easy question to figure out, but like right now they're really heavily in love with the fact that on both platforms the controls look exactly the same rather than rendering what the platform controls look like. And so we're kind of looking at it going, are we going to have to rewrite their entire UI layer for both platforms, or is it something that's even relatively easily portable?
So any project that is Xamarin native, if you will, it's a Xamarin Android or a Xamarin iOS application, and it's not using any MAUI or Xamarin Forms, sorry. It's not using any of that cross-platform UI stuff. That stuff translates directly to .NET 6 and greater. So we don't have a product called Xamarin iOS anymore. It's just iOS, .NET for iOS, just it's there, right? It's the iOS SDK. So storyboards still work, asset catalogs still work, all that stuff. None of that changes. The main change for iOS in particular is the breaking change with types. And so, as the team has said, you have to recompile the world. So all dependencies have to get recompiled against net6 and greater types. But then the SDK style project gets updated and everything else should not need to be rewritten. Yeah, it should just work. It's the Xamarin Forms to MAUI stuff that's primarily. Yeah, I mean, so in Android's a much better situation in that while there is a big change from the target framework of Monodroid or Xamarin Android or whatever the heck it was called to Net6 Android, they maintain some backwards compatibility or a fallback in their dependencies. So many of the NuGet packages may just work. So you could totally just try that. Like the Azure team, the Azure mobile app, they said, yeah, we changed to SDK style projects and just recompiled the app and it's running. I think there was additional work that they needed to do past that or they wanted to do, but at least the first run was good enough, right? Like, so you may find that, and so you may not be seeing a lot of information about it because the story is very short. And we do have docs on it now that do try to discuss it and talk about it. But yeah, you don't have to abandon storyboards. We have no plans to deprecate any of that sort of stuff. We do talk primarily about MAUI because that's where customers are. And that's where most people are finding it to be most productive. So that's where our messaging is. One of the things that we had a problem with Xamarin was that there was a lot of confusion around Xamarin Forms versus Xamarin Android and iOS and what was the product and where was the investment, et cetera. So, yeah.
Yeah, and if you want to move from the two native UIs to a cross-platform MAUI UI, if that's kind of what your client is interested in, my advice would be get up to date on the .NETs first, and then what you can do is kind of piecemeal MAUI pages, and in the same way that if anyone used Forms embedding, it's very similar to that. You can have those native views load up in your MAUI app, and then as you replace those pages, get rid of the native stuff. As for having the controls look the same, you can use any drawn control library. You can create your own controls. You can just style them so that they look the same cross-platform. So there's a bunch of different options there. Or use any of the third-party component kits that exist that do that. So yeah, lots of options. But my advice is get up to date and then start smushing it together. Don't smush it together yet.
That is the upgrade advice that beats all other advice. Don't give into that temptation to refactor everything. Just get that conversion done, get the upgrade done, and then you can start taking advantage of the new stuff. Because the date for Apple's, we're no longer going to take updates to the App Store is coming. And that's where the May 1st, 2024 end of support primarily is coming from. That and the fact that we just can't continue to support all the infrastructure and the build systems and the testing matrix and everything for Xamarin and for MAUI. We need to put our focus on the newest stuff. So
yeah.
What's your name?
This guy Mahul, who definitely doesn't do all the marketing for .NET MAUI, is definitely not planting a question right now about a potential tool that could help you upgrade from Xamarin to MAUI.
Why did you say tool looking at me?
I named it. It is called the .NET Upgrade Assistant. It is both available in the command line for Mac and Windows and in Visual Studio. It's kind of a UI experience. It is an assistant. It will not do it for you 100%, but it will do a lot of the find and replace. It will do the project style upgrade. It'll get you a lot closer than you would do yourself by bashing your head against the wall. So definitely check that out. It's also fairly new, the MAUI support, and it is an extension into Visual Studio, so we can iterate it a lot faster than just a Visual Studio release. So we are totally actively investing in it. It is an assistant. So if you come to me and you say, I ran the upgrade assistant and my app doesn't work, it's an assistant, okay? Also, I've started to realize Copilot and all of those crazy tools that we keep talking about this week are actually pretty helpful. They're not great at XAML, but they are really good at C# stuff. So I've been enjoying that. We are working on the XAML stuff. Okay, I saw a question in the chat that's very easy. Are the memory leaks in MAUI fixed in .NET 8? Yes, they are, because of Jonathan Peppers, who basically did this for 6 months. So check out, you can just search Peppers on GitHub and find all those PRs. So in case anyone was going to ask about that, that's a good, easy win from the chat.
That's not to say that they're all fixed.
They're all gone. You heard it here.
But we have addressed, Jonathan has addressed a lot of them and continues to hunt. So if you're adopting the .NET 8 previews, which I hope that somebody in here is and is testing them, please let us know if you're still identifying leaks so that we can isolate and dig in on them. But we've got a lot of wins. There will be a deep dive performance blog post from Jonathan, as we've come to expect, like from Stephen Tobe as well. So that'll come out closer to RC1, like in September. Yeah, lots of performance work across the board. So
very cool. All right, room questions? We'll go right here. Ready.
Hi, my name is Ramon, and I wanted to know if there are efforts, what the status of the efforts are for actually documenting the APIs.
Oh. No.
Yes.
Go ahead.
The answer is yes. There are efforts on documenting the APIs. So that's one of the things that we are spiking on for these next 4 months. And if you have feedback, please feel free to send it my way about specifically what you're missing with that documentation, and I can pass it along. But yes, we are spending a lot of hours trying to improve that documentation.
Yeah, we've heard you loud and clear on that, so we appreciate the feedback. All right, more room questions? I should do this side. Hello, good timing.
Hey, my name is Lee. So my team built an application a couple months ago that was, so my information is dated, but that was targeted at a PC and a Mac app, no mobile. And the story seemed a little bit weak for those platforms. I'm curious if things have improved. For instance, the mouse over effects and things like that. Curious what the status of that is and plans are.
God, you guys are great. These are softballs. Softballs. Dave, you want to take this? You want to give to Beth or?
So .NET 8 has improvements for the hover.
Don't sound so unhappy about it. Be excited, dude. This is a big deal.
They took me out to a steakhouse last night.
Yeah, excuse me, you paid.
Paid because I'm the senior on the team. Yes, you are absolutely right. The story for desktop is not as strong as the mobile story. Cursors, being able to change the cursor, for example, to a finger pointer, drumstick, I don't know, whatever else you want to change it to. You can do that now with some stuff that's been added to the community toolkit, but that stuff is coming in .NET 8. Yeah, being able to do hovers. I've got that demonstrated with a behavior in the point of sale app, which is in the MAUI samples. So it's just a little bit of code. You attach a behavior to your stuff, and then you can do all the visual state management for hover, change the color, whatever you want to do. As well as when you hover, you can change the cursor. Also coming in .NET 8 are a bunch of keyboard enhancements, just in general keyboard listeners, so that you can do that, because, right? As well as keyboard accelerators, which is the ability to have shortcuts that are assigned to menus. So that's coming as well. There are PRs up for some, if not most of that stuff now. So you actually, with .NET 8, if you don't know, you can grab NuGet packages off of our build pipelines, and you can then use them like you did back in Xamarin Forms. You can put them in a local NuGet folder, and you can go into your CS proj, and you can say, hey, I want to use this version. In previous versions of .NET 8, we had a MAUI version attribute that you would use. I think in the latest preview, we've changed it to use package references. So you can look on our repository for examples on how to do that. And I did blog about it in preview 3, 2, 3. Can't remember what. Did we ship preview 4 last? Yeah, I think preview 4 went out and 5's next. So as you find other things, that are gaps that you're like, oh goodness, this is an egregious, how did they ever, what were they thinking? Yeah, let us know, file an issue. Yeah, we have a whole, you can track the progress on these things. Themes of .NET, we have our epics and our stories that are also there, and you can find the Uber issue that's tracking desktop specific things.
Very cool. We'll do another room question. Oh, Dan's given up. I was gonna go for you, but we'll do you first and then Dan next, okay? Cool.
Hi, my name is John Daintree. I work with a language called APL. Picking up on the desktop theme, any plans for Linux desktop support?
Plans, no official plans. However, we have a Linux backend that is, let's say it's experimental. It is based on the work that Javier has done. And so with the MAUI Labs that Beth was referring to, where we can put some of these less official but still very useful things to see what kind of traction they get, we want to put there the Linux working bits with instructions on how to use it and how to contribute to it, as well as a working WPF implementation. Does not have controls. So you get a window, a label, and a web view, specifically a Blazor web view. And not an official thing. I mean, as far as like Windows goes, WinUI 3 is the modern framework, and that's what we depend upon and we're moving forward with. But we know that in some cases, customers want to use other things, and so that would be, it existed in Xamarin Forms, so there is a little bit of an expectation that it would be useful there. So that's our first step. If we find that, contributions start flowing in, we want to make sure we give those a thumbs up. I know that some contributions were recently proposed for Linux, for example, to the Essentials APIs, which are not really a thing anymore, because Essentials is now part of .NET MAUI. But we want to make sure that we're, being good maintainers and contributors. If the community wants it and is useful to them, then we should take it in and yeah, make it useful.
My question is about binding third-party libraries. Can we expect any improvement in .NET timeline?
So improvements for you doing third-party bindings? Okay. So bindings are hard, as you may know. Who's done a binding, a .NET binding to who says it's easy? Yeah. Maddy has never done it. Maddy's just going to raise her hand.
That's all I do.
So I think where we're at with it is there's not much we can do to make it easier. It's just a hard task. So what is the actual customer problem that we need to address? You have a third-party library you need to use. Do you actually need the whole surface area of that library, or you just need it to work? So there are two experimental things that we're working on in .NET 8 timeframe. One is a slim binding is one way to call it. Essentially, you do create a binding, but you only bind the API that you need to interact with from .NET. You don't worry about the rest of it. The second thing is platform channels. And so this is essentially a message passing mechanism that works with the native platform, Objective-C, Swift, Java, Kotlin, and then works with .NET. So rather than actually exercising the API directly, you puppet it, right, through the platform channel. You say, I want to be able to do this, and then in Objective-C or Swift, you do the thing using the CocoaPod or the framework or whatever, and then you send back the results. So while that sounds less ideal for sure and is not as glamorous as being able just to use all those APIs directly in .NET, what we have heard from several people is, well, at least when I go look for code snippets on how to use XYZ library, I can just use the Swift code I find. I can just use the Java code I find because that's what it was written for and written in. We also know from those who have maintained third-party library bindings that that skill set is hard to maintain long-term. And so we do find that it's hard for libraries to stay up to date, right? So we need an alternative solution. We have considered many things. You know, can we leverage AI? Can we automate these things? Can we just make a really good machine learning something that does the magic? And none of those things really are sufficient. So that's where we're heading with it. Again, those two things are more experimental. We may come up with a third thing that you know might be a solution, but the goal here being that you as developers can utilize any third-party library that you need to use with minimal effort. That's what we're trying to get to. And I just don't think a full binding is the way to go for that.
Yeah, but if you disagree, throw your tomatoes now. No, I'm just kidding. Don't do that. But you can tell us. All right, let's see. Left side of the room. Anything over here? Questions?
So, I mean, my question is basically if you have any particular showcase with the Microsoft apps, right, to like kind of, you know, like make us like feel more comfortable about the future of MAUI and all that, because I was using the Outlook app and it looks really great, and I was hoping it was a Xamarin app, and then I realized it wasn't a Xamarin app. So I'm wondering if that's a plan, right, in order to like get us like more, like integrated with Microsoft and getting to use these tools.
Yeah, very, very good question, which we get all the time. Beth, you want to take it?
Yeah, so you can go to .NET WAC customers, and you can actually see MAUI customer stories there. So we're working on more and more all the time. You should actually attend the session tomorrow, because we'll actually have a customer in the session, and I'm not going to tease that too much. But and then we for first party, you want to?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we have two first-party customers we're working very closely with. The primary one being Microsoft 365 SharePoint admin, which is a Xamarin Forms to .NET MAUI migration. They just started beta testing, and that has gone really well. There were a couple of things they had been blocked on, like Intune support, which now is shipping. So, and we will be able to then showcase that, right, and talk more about that. Azure Mobile, again, is another upgrade. And so as they have needs, we helped unblock them. Haven't heard from them recently, so I guess everything's going great.
Yeah, that must be great.
There are other teams within Microsoft that have started to use it. As you would imagine, those who are new to MAUI and don't have Xamarin experienced all the pain you experienced with the early releases of MAUI, and so they didn't continue. So that is something that, first things first, we need to have a really stable, great product that everybody wants to use. And then when we have that, we'll be in a much better position to persuade and entice other teams within Microsoft to use it. But, none of that, while that is important, and I understand it gives folks on the outside confidence, the reality is .NET is strongly focused on you as the customer. And we have a lot of you. And you have some apps that have way more downloads than some of our apps. So, we want to get more of those stories publicly available to showcase, because they are every bit as impressive as, yes, Microsoft does use the product.
Yeah, and if you want to share your story, we do have that page that Beth mentioned, .net/customers. You can get a case study done. Mehul is actually kind of the best point of contact for that, so come find him after. We are always looking for more. I will also add as an anecdote, which I say every time people ask this question, believe it or not, going to the Office team and telling them to rewrite their entire stack with the thing we shipped a year ago, not going to work. Believe it or not. If you came to us and told us to rewrite everything, we would laugh. So I get it. I think the other anecdote I've heard from some folks on the team is Visual Studio is a WPF app. It took 4 years of WPF being GA before people even thought that they could do something like Visual Studio. So that makes me feel a little bit better internally, because I agree. I would love all these apps to be built with MAUI, and maybe they will one day. But yeah, that's just the reality of working in a company in America right now. So cool. We have time for one more question. So who wants it? So much pressure. Nobody? Oh, there we go. The bravest of souls. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Jose. I just have one question about what are if there are any breaking changes when we go from .NET 7 to .NET 8 in MAUI. So just to, because I'm currently porting some Xamarin Forms to .NET 7, what are the expectations when .NET 8 comes out in MAUI, if there will be any breaking changes?
There are some changes. They are nowhere near to the extent of going from Xamarin Forms to .NET. So there are a few APIs that change. There are some deprecated things that are now gone, right? Because if you deprecate it, then why is it still there? So we will publish that in documentation as thoroughly as possible and do an API diff, but it's should be minimal. Yeah.
Cool. All right, we'll wrap with a wholesome question because that's what we do on panels. It's very wholesome. Would you each, and I will also share what you would like people to come talk to you about when we finish this session up in a minute? Can I start? No, I haven't thought of my answer yet. I had to think of the question. I had to think of the question first.
Please come talk to me about how you distribute your apps, how you publish them, and all the things that you hate about doing those things. Also, come talk to me about what you want to learn, because I probably want to learn it too, because I'm nice and new.
Let's see. Firstly, don't come talk to me about every single bug you have. That's why GitHub exists. And so please go give thumbs or whatever reaction you want to give on a GitHub issue. Comment on it. That's how you can make your need known there primarily. And then that will help us in our prioritization. We have a whole value impact ranking methodology, and we take all that stuff into account. But of course, if you really do want to come talk to me about your bug, I will gladly listen to you. If it's something I can help prioritize, I will, but no promises. Yeah, anything that you are like, hey, what is the next thing you're going to work on? I really need X, Y, Z. This is something that, you know, is a big deciding factor as to whether .NET is useful to us or not. Let me know, because anything that I can do to plan the future roadmap, that's what I'm interested in learning from you. And of course, anything you're building, just come show me. Be like, look at this. We're proud of this. Always love to see that.
Yeah, same. I'm investigating ARM, Windows ARM. So if anybody's building MAUI apps with Windows ARM, come talk to me, because I just want to make that experience much smoother, especially if you're using a Mac with Parallels. Yeah. Also, Windows Subsystem for Android. If you guys are using any of that, I'd love to talk to you about that, because we want to make that experience a lot better. And then any MAUI hybrid scenarios, whether that's Blazor or Angular or React. I want to also smooth out the edges of the tooling experiences there. So.
Good. All right. And then I guess you can come to me with everything else. And I'm just kidding. Please, definitely share your stories, anything tooling, questions, comments, concerns about Visual Studio for Mac, other things there. Hot reloading, my baby, the love of my life besides my dogs. And my husband. Thank you.
Visual Tree.
Sorry, Nick.
What about sports?
I do like sports. It's not the love of my life, though. It's different. Any of that stuff, remote development, DevBox. You know, I'm trying to figure out that stuff right now. So don't ask me about AI because I don't understand it. That being, you can ask Becky. She's actually the expert.
Doing DevDrive too. Come talk to me.
Yeah, DevDrive should go to Beth. AI to Becky. And we also have a session tomorrow at I think 11:30. 10:45. Thank you. This is why we pay him the big bucks. He is great. So that will be all things client development with .NET MAUI. It's going to be the Dave and me clown show with Beth and Becky in the audience supporting. So we will go more into the .NET 8 roadmap. Again, we have a very great customer story. A little bit more about what's going on with improvements and stuff we're shipping. And yeah, so come to that. Come check out the .NET expert area and hang out with us after. And please come up and grab stickers. I will fish them out of my bag so you can take them. For those of you online, go to your local .NET user group meetup and make sure the organizer has stickers shipped to him or her by James Montemagno, who will do that for you. It's very nice. So thank you, everybody, for joining. This was great. This was fun. Happy build.